Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We have a 2020 Type R. Just finished a pretty good build in it. And this is for Brad Newsom. Brad has a very popular Facebook page. It's Legends of Car Audio, for those who don't know. Take a minute here and look at the front of the vehicle. This is kind of where I got a lot of my inspiration. Basically, obviously, we're gonna see some of these elements in the build. We have the red, of course, the red paint, but also what you're gonna see in there is some of the carbon fiber. Not real carbon fiber. We won't mention anything about that, will we, Honda? But still looks pretty good. So the black grill, the diamond cut grill, you guys see a little bit of that in the install. The black, gloss black in the front here, you're gonna see some of that also in the build. And then the shapes, you notice this car has these really jagged shapes. It's not really very rounded like you might see in, I don't know, maybe a European vehicle or something like that. But I really like the look, and in the build, that's kind of what I was shooting for, is some of those really sharp edges and those shapes in that manner. So I guess we'll just start here under the hood. Nothing too awfully much to see, but want to show you the fusing. We have dual aught gauge cable, feeding the system. A little bit overkill for what it is, for the sound quality build that it is, but obviously not going to hurt anything. These mega fuses are by Flosser, and these are a little bit nicer than your regular mega fuse. As you can see, they are sealed up here. A lot of other mega fuses actually have a little opening right there, which is really no good. So these fuses are nice and sealed. So it doesn't really matter that they're kind of sitting on the open like this. Everything is sealed up. Everything is flex loomed, heat shrink. Of course, the fuses are really close to the battery as need be. The plate for the fuses is there's steel, 16 gauge steel. You can't really see it from here, but the 16 gauge steel that goes down and hits some of the bracketing, some of the factory bracketing. It's bolted up really tight. And then the base is 1/8 inch aluminum that I finished in a red texture VHT paint, which matches his engine intake really nicely. It's almost a perfect match. The two odd gauge fuses go right through the firewall, through a large factory grommet. I didn't even need to drill any new holes, and it's probably a good thing because this vehicle is ultra tight on that firewall. It would have been quite a challenge to find a place to come through, but thankfully the factory grommet is really large, and it had no problem fitting both of these odd gauge cables through. You know, this system, I don't know, even going full tilt, maybe draws 100 amps of current, maybe. And that's when the sub is really getting going. But since this is more of a sound quality build, really don't have to worry about that too much. So that's about it for here, and we'll move into the inside of the vehicle. All right, here we are inside the vehicle. Just gonna show you around real quick. So basically, the system that we installed is basically its own entity, right? It has nothing to do with the factory system. There's no factory integration going on here. You know, Brad could still use the factory monitor if he chooses to use navigation or his cell phone or whatever. But when it comes to audio, the system is basically going to be completely controlled through the Zapco DSP. So here we have the mount, the custom mount for the Zapco HDSB Z16B. Pretty sure I got that right. It's a 16 channel high-res DSP. Thing's crazy. So anyways, here's the controller for it. You know, you can see custom bezel that I tried my best to try to match the factory gloss black with the silver. So that's that. Speakers and the doors, 6.5 inch mid bass. The A pillars are a 3-inch dome mid, and then the sail panels 1-inch soft dome tweeter. All speakers, actually all the gear with the exception of the Zapco DSP is by Critical Mass. So you can see some of that black plexi, which I used extensively throughout the install, mostly to try to line up with that gloss black that you saw on the front bumper. And then of course you can also see the diamond pattern ABS grill works nicely for the grill for mid bass. And pretty closely matches, again, what you see on the grill up front. The grill on the front of the vehicle, I should say. So these pods, doesn't really look like there's much to them. The black vinyl matches really, really well with the vinyl from the factory. The texture is just about perfect. The color is just about perfect. Basically that mid, or I should say both mids, each doors are mounted on 1 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood, 13 ply. The birch plywood is bolted to the inner door skin via threaded nut certs. So it's very, very solid baffle for the mid-base driver. There's extensive sound deadening treatment inside the door panel, inner door skin, of course, but there was a lot of I put a lot of time and effort into sound deadening the door panel itself, putting duct seal into all the crevices and the nooks and crannies, adding some mass to the door panels itself. So these things dig pretty deep, solidly down to about 80 hertz, and they'll reach. I'm trying to think. The 3 dB down was somewhere around 70 hertz, where of course the sub takes over. So mid-range, of course, that's running from 750 hertz up to about 6K, and then the tweeter takes over at 6K and up. Of course, custom A-pillars there done for the mids. I used the sail panel for the factory tweeter. Yeah, the factory tweeter is in that sail panel, but I did modify the factory sail in order to get a better on-access response to the listener. So basically, the mid and tweet are on the same axis at now. It wouldn't have been if I didn't modify the sails. Of course, there's LED lighting inside there for the mid base, just for that wow factor, right? I mean, there's all kinds of red in this car. And that's pretty much it for in here, and we'll move back onto the trunk. Here she is. Just walk around a little bit. So basically everything in the hatch area here is hand built. So I'll point out, like, this panel right here is actually factory. So basically everything from this point down is all handmade. So again, over here, everything from this point down is all hand built. Even in the rear, this rear panel here, with the notch for the latch, that's all hand built. And of course, the top piece up here that all runs along, it's all hand built. You know, the black vinyl again matches really well to the factory. And then I wanted to bring in a lot of those elements that we just saw on the rear bumper there. So we've got you know, a lot of black plexi to get that gloss black look. This carbon fiber around this subwoofer grill, and of course in the edges here, trim here, carbon vinyl fiber wrap. Obviously it's not real carbon fiber, no, but believe it or not, that carbon fiber vinyl actually matches the factory carbon fiber look better than if I actually used real carbon fiber. So I don't feel too bad about using that carbon fiber vinyl. Basically, we have 3 critical mass amplifiers running the system. We have 4-channel Class D monoblock and another 4-channel. Both of the 4 channels are Class AB. This one over here is running all of the left speakers, and then this one over here is running all of the right speakers. And obviously the Class D mono is running the subwoofer. These emblems here are actually something I did myself on my CNC machine. The factory, actually I have one right here. So these are the factory kind of cheesy little logos. And since I had to mount the amplifiers vertically in order for them to fit the way I needed them to, in order to gain access to them, I needed to put them in this position. And this logo really just wasn't going to cut it, because there's a groove inside of the heatsink for these to fit. And if I would have moved the logo vertically, it just would not have looked right. So I custom made these logos out of black plexiglass. And then also made a few other logos. I made that Zapco logo there on the CNC, as well as the Stinger logo for the Stinger distribution blocks. And last but not least, all the logos here on this top shelf were made on the CNC. The emblems were the only thing I did on the CNC machine. I actually just got it fired up just days ago, and had to get used to it. So everything else was hand built. Certainly not knocking anybody that uses CNC for their installs or in their installs or making certain panels. That's all fine. They look beautiful. But I'm kind of old school, at least for now. And for this install, everything was hand built. And don't get me wrong, there's some flaws in there. There's plenty of flaws in there to prove it was hand built. You know, we have the Critical Mass logo. Legends of Car Audio is Brad's Facebook page we're talking about. So everything back here is basically built for a purpose. In case Brad does decide to compete, everything back here is easily serviceable. All of these amps are serviceable. The processor is serviceable. Subwoofer is serviceable if need be. It's not hard to get to anything. I'll make a separate video showing how easy it is to remove these panels all around those pieces. As you can see, subwoofer, it is a vented enclosure. Those who are experienced in car audio might wonder how this driver can be ported, or this enclosure could be ported, with the seats being so close to the sub. Well, I can assure you that the enclosure is big enough, and that is because it is basically a 2-part enclosure. It is vented. It is about 3 cubic feet. It's tuned to 24 hertz. Basically, underneath the amplifiers is a, it's not a full-size wheel well, but there is a well there. That well was completely fiberglassed, and then utilizing that area for volume. So that takes up that whole area underneath the amplifiers, from that point back to the bottom of the seat. And then up is basically a wedge box. So the wedge box is all made out of again, plywood, Baltic birch, 13 ply plywood. It's heavily braced. That wedge box was adhered to the fiberglass box. There was a lot of time. I spent a ton of time on this enclosure. Believe me, I could have saved so very much time if I just chose to do a simple 1 cubic foot sealed enclosure, which is what Critical Mass actually recommends. Nah, can't do that. I modeled this subwoofer, which is the UL12 by the way, in that 1 cubic foot sealed enclosure. And I don't know, in my opinion, it's just ridiculous. It was like the FC of the enclosure was something crazy, like 80 hertz or something. I can't remember exactly, but 3D down point was way too high. Would have needed an obscene amount of power to get any low frequency output out of it. And considering we wanted a really good sound quality type build, we wanted this subwoofer to dig really deep, put the extra time and effort into building a vented enclosure. Granted, it's a large amount of volume, but after I get everything fired up, I was very happy, very, very happy that I chose to go that route, even though it took so much more time, because this subwoofer just sounds amazing in that vented enclosure. It is dual vents for it in there. I assure you that grill does not affect any of the airflow for those vents. There's plenty of room there for them to breathe, and you cannot hear any chuffing or anything from those ports. Here's our distribution blocks. I really like these mini A&L style fuses. Really simple, but effective. The wiring for the system, I chose this layout specifically, both for fitment and for the way I wanted to do the wiring. So basically all of your power and ground leads come straight down from the blocks, and they run right on this side. Okay, so then all your power and ground run just like this, right? And then vice versa, from the DSP, all of the signal cables, which are all custom-made RCA cables, come down and they go to this side, right? And then they run down. I love the layout. Keeps all of our signal cable, all of our signal away from our power cable as much as possibly can be in this fashion. So basically just pressure fit in here, along with a couple of neo magnets. Hopefully you can see that okay. Backside is all finished off in black suede. And you can see the neo magnets down here, neo magnets up here with the contact points. So the subwoofer grill can just be pressure fit back into the grooves, and once it gets close, the magnets suck it into place, and then the contact points make a connection, and the grill lights up again. So pretty easy. Everything in the system needs to be serviceable. All panels that basically cover any of the important pieces of gear, had to make it so that we could remove those panels fairly easily and service those pieces if need be. So this panel here is removable. Here, a little bit of pressure there, pops right out. Just like with all the rest of the panels that are removable, the back side is also finished in suede. So there's a nice appeal to it, even if you have to pull the panel off. There are neo magnets that are infused all the way around the trim. You can kind of see here, even the LED wiring, everything's been loomed, flex loomed. So pretty easy to get to the DSP if need be. You can see on the inside there, I kind of just covered all the panels and stuff inside with Insulite, so it kind of gives it at least a little bit of a finished appearance. And then easily enough, when you're done, this panel just snaps back into place. Again, the neo magnets hold everything in nice and tight. Now I'll move the black plexi panel, goes around the amplifiers. Obviously very important to be able to get to the amplifiers for servicing if need be, or adjustments or whatever. I don't think you can see it from this angle, but there's a little knob right here. Just kind of have to grab the right spots. Again, this is all held with the magnets. And then the black plexi comes right out. And just like everything else, backside is finished in suede. The edges are finished in suede. Every edge is finished in suede, which of course gives it a nice look, but at the same time too, it's a nice soft material. So there's going to be no rattling against the amplifiers or rattling against the fiberglass trim. This panel basically is made. The top half is 1/4-inch plexiglass, and the bottom half is 1/4-inch MDF that was infused together. And there are several neo magnets infused underneath the suede. Not sure how much you can see from this angle, but there are standoffs that go around every amplifier. And the neo magnets will of course line up with the trim panel. So pretty easy to get to each amplifier and or the wiring associated with each amplifier. And then this panel will just basically pop right back on easily enough. And boom, there it is, and the trim piece is back on.